This week, we're making like Sheryl Crow and sharing our favorite mistakes.
We've both been in business for 3 years and we've learned a few things.
We want to help you avoid the bookkeeping, project management, and potential client pitfalls that we experienced.
Here's a big one. Always get a retainer.
Let's go.
Hi, I'm Rebecca of Studio Plum.
And I'm Shaun of Renstead Interiors. We're interior designers
Turned internet friends.
turned real life friends.
Welcome to the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
We're not that hot.
Or that young.
Every week, we'll be spilling the tea on how a new generation of interior designers can run their businesses.
Welcome to the club. Hey, Shaun.
What's up, Rebecca?
My foot is currently elevated.
So that's up.
That's up. Keeping things.
And it will be for 4 to 6 weeks, potentially.
Keeping things, blood flow flowing.
That made me think of Flo from Progressive Auto Insurance.
Oh, she's sassy.
I feel like I'd have a coffee with her.
Totally.
Yeah, I'd hang out with her. She'd be fun to talk to at a party.
Oh, she'd have all like the dish. Yeah.
Anyway, what's up over there?
Over here in Pizzletown. Studio Pizzle.
Probably not the marketing strategy, but
Probably not. I'm trying to be positive over here. Is it working?
Yeah.
Okay, so the fizzle, blah, blah, blah. My foot's still in a cast. It still hurts, but we're working through it. The big fizzle in our household is my husband has a mandatory schedule change and he now works Saturdays. So his days off are going to be Mondays and Tuesdays. Sorry, Sundays and Mondays, sometimes Tuesday. And this is
But he always had weekends before off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And looks like that's happening through March, at least. So trying to get my head around that.
Well, yeah, that it totally disrupts the family environment. There's less stability in knowing what's happening. It's not just an adjustment. It's your work gets impacted, like when there's not someone there to be with Cecily, and you would ideally, you could get work done on weekends when he's there to help, play with her and spend time with her.
Yeah, and I kind of do.
And now you won't have that.
I kind of do because I have shorter days sometimes from, mom life through the week. So I like to catch up on the weekends.
And you don't really need him there with you on a Monday mid-morning.
Yeah, that was the other part. I really don't.
That's even more distracting.
It is he's not doing anything, but it's just having the frequency of somebody else's body in the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's
the
not
TV's
your
on
own.
and that's annoying. Sometimes he's blowing the yard outside my window and I'm like,
and you're like, hey, on the phone, thanks.
But usually it's just I just want to be in my office. But anyway, so that's a bummer, mostly for him too, because he's not happy about it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so my sizzle, I'm keeping it light, literally. I've been
Mom joke.
I've been really into my candle ritual where I wake up and I have a bunch of candles on my table in my office. And I meditate or read. But some of my candles are getting I like to use matches. I like the ritual of a match, but then you get match flakes in your candle wax. Yeah, or the wicks get really long. So I finally am what am I doing? I need to level up over here. So I ordered this really cute little candle care kit. And it's a matte black. I should have brought it, but I can't move. It's got a little long tray with a little snuffer and long tweezers.
The little scissor?
The little scissor.
Oh, I have that, but it's the brass one.
Yeah, there was a bunch of different ones. I didn't
But the
want to
black
wait. I
one's
think the
nice because
brass.
you won't see the soot on it. Because the brass one, I have to wipe
Yeah.
the soot off of the candle snuffer.
Yeah, so it's cute little snuffer, cute little snip, and then the little tweezers to pick out any stray
Or like if the
matches
wick
or
goes into the
wick.
wax,
Yeah.
you can pull it up out of it. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So if it, and then it just feel like I don't know. I love the ritual part of candle lighting, so it also feels like fussy in a cute way.
Yeah, like this is the thing I treat seriously. I mean, especially if it's like an expensive candle, but what's your like go-to candle scent?
I like woodsy. Like I like it to smell like a low-key fire.
Okay, okay. I feel like I lean towards sandalwood or
Hmm.
oud or like I feel like it's always kind of in those veins, like more like musky,
Hmm.
a little like you're saying where it's kind of like dirty,
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah. Did we
gritty
talk about this
smell.
before? Like kind of like going towards Dracar Noir.
Oh, God. Okay, I feel like we did. We'll link your candle kit in the show notes because it is kind of fun to have something like that to take care of your candles
Well,
and
and when you snuff it, it does like save the wick. It does help the candle
yeah.
longer. I also saw this, I think it was on TikTok or something, where to like keep your okay, now this is now a candle podcast. To keep your candle from, I guess it's called tunneling when you get a new candle and the
Oh, and
wick
it
just
just runs
drops.
down.
So you have to build like a little chimney out of foil
What? I'm
just for
not
like the
doing
first
this.
hour until it completely
No.
melts the entire top.
Um,
And then your candle will melt evenly going forward. You take it
yeah,
off.
I'm not gonna do that.
You're not doing that.
I'm not doing that. I mean,
Yeah,
I like having the candles, but I'm not like if it leaves some
you're not
I'm
gonna become
looking
a
at my
candle
candle.
influencer.
Yeah, like if it leaves some wax at the bottom or on the edges because it didn't burn all the way through. Like I'm like, meh, okay, like it's fine.
Well, that's where my little mug, desktop mug warmer,
You can
I
burn the
just,
rest of it.
you know, burn it. Yeah, you just stick it on it and it keeps melting it down. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. Well, I'm not going
it's my
full.
Depression era candle
Yeah.
saving.
I'm using all of it. Damn it.
There's a lot. Like some of the big ones, especially that have multi wicks, and they're like,
Yeah.
it's like
It's
an
all
inch
the
or two
outer
long.
edge. Yeah.
Hmm. Anyway, so sizzle.
That candle life. Okay, on my end of things, if the listeners have been following along on my Instagram, I have been doing agave watch updates. I've had this agave plant in my yard that we planted 3 years ago, and I bought it. It was already really mature when I got it, and we planted it when we built our guest house, and I planted them around the yard. And it's a foxtail agave, which they're really nice because they're kind of soft and they don't have pointed edges and they don't grow to the size of a Volkswagen Beetle like
Mm.
most people imagine when they're thinking agave. Like they get massive. But we purposely wanted stuff so when my nephew comes over, they have soft leaves, they fold, they don't have spines on them. So it's who cares if he runs around and touches it or messes around. Well, ours has been blooming since I don't know, the
Thanksgiving,
fall.
yeah.
Yeah, like it started in the fall and it will get us probably into spring. It's been beautiful, but she or he, I don't know.
I think
It's
it's a
really
he. Yeah.
it's really looking worse for wear. Like
Uh,
the stalk, because the stalk is this like arch shape, and now it's looking really rough. Like 6 feet of the what's already bloomed is like falling, like dried and falling off. The blooms are coming off of it, and they're like hanging, and it's really starting to get to the like ugly phase.
mm,
Even though the tip of it is still blooming from the stalk, it's beautiful, but it's kind of sad to think like, oh, come spring, and then it's like dying off. Like the rest of the agave at the bottom, the like mother plant, they after they bloom, they die because they use all their energy to bloom. So the leaves are starting to yellow and shrink at the base of it. And I'm like, oh, it's like full circle of life kind of thing here. Like,
I
wah,
mean, it's basically
wah.
the same with human mothers.
Oh no, like full giving tree status.
Like all our beauty and lushness just goes
Yeah,
right to those
all the
little.
vibrant skin and
Mhm.
pliant, everything is all gone. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's pretty much what happened. Like, she's giving her life to
Oh,
the stalk to like pollinate, and then she'll die. So it's gonna leave a hole in my garden too, which is sad because
and
I'm
your
like, well, what goes
heart.
there? Yeah, totally. I mean, I'm hopeful that I can
But
propagate
are
some
there,
others,
yeah, are
but
there babies that come out of it, or they just like float into the wind and pollinate?
I, well, supposedly you could plant the little seedlings, but most stuff I've read online is like you're gonna get like really hit or miss results with it. Like sometimes it's not great. Like it's much better to just take the little pups that grow off of like the stalk by the roots
Mm-hmm.
and take those, which I did propagate some of those and I have them in pots around my garden. So I will replant them, but they're all like, I don't know, less than 10 inches in diameter. Like they're very small still. So I'm thinking about moving maybe a bigger one from another spot and planting it where this one went. And then just kind of always, this is going to be like a lifetime gardening habit.
Mm-hmm.
And aside from garden life, which is a little bit sad to think about that kind of cycling out, there is the fact that you can like, you guys have to live the fantasy with this a little bit. Are you guys watching Poldark?
I've never even heard of that.
Okay. Poldark is in the same vein of like PBS Masterpiece.
Mhm.
It's there was like an old series, and when I say old, it's probably like late 80s or 90s. Like it's not that, I mean it is, but it isn't that old, but it's very soap opera like. It's set in the English countryside in it starts off at the Revolutionary War.
Okay.
And the family that it
Oh.
follows is the Poldark family. And it has, I mean, the casting is really great. It's got that whole, like, if you like Emma, if you like period pieces, if you like that stuff, you're going to like the show. At times, it can be a little predictable, but it is very, like, romantic, like, moody.
Like Downton Abbey was predictable. I'm looking at
Are you looking at a
the
picture of
like
Aidan
the
Turner?
yeah, he's serving some Revolutionary War
Oh, that,
real
oh,
realness
yeah.
is happening.
And there's shirtless moments.
Oh,
He's like on a beach in Cornwall, and they definitely know what they're doing with this show. They know that he is on the cover of a romance novel type
for
of,
sure. He's got
yeah,
like that perfectly tousled mop
yes.
top hair, that
He kind of reminds me
2 o'clock
of,
shadow.
yeah, and which you think like, oh, this isn't all like historically accurate, but I'm still gonna fall for it a little bit. He kind of almost reminds me, you guys, I don't know if well, the listeners won't care, but you guys in the mid 90s when I was having like my gay awakening,
Mhm.
like, because that's what to put that in perspective of like adolescence, mid to late 90s. And then at the time, so the actor, Aidan Turner, who plays in Poldark, reminds me a little bit of like my prepubescent fantasies about Gavin Rossdale from Bush.
Oh. Hmm.
Like at the time, he was like that rocker badass. Like he hasn't. It's not.
Smoldery, like
Yeah,
he's like kind of always just pissed off, but in a hot way. Yeah, that's what
yeah,
all
but
those
then he's
pictures look
got like
like.
a cute smile, and I mean, who knows what happened with him and Gwen Stefani and all of that? Like that's a
And the
whole other
nanny.
thing. But he was definitely that like rock star heartthrob in that time frame of that. And I think that might be why Aidan Turner makes me remember some of that. But the show is great. His co-star Eleanor Tomlinson is like serving you the full like red-headed English
Mhm.
tousled hair. But it's great. It follows family drama. They also talk about like race and class division. So there is a lot of historic accuracy into like what was happening in the late 1700s and the turn of the century in England, in politics, globally. So it's kind of good to see those reminders of like what was it like to be in this very class divided system of like the lords and their tenants. And it's a much darker look at it than Downton Abbey. Like, there are food shortages. There are landlords who kick tenants out just to rip down the houses because they don't like them. It's like,
Yeah.
and that was all legal.
It was
It's
just
definitely
like, full, like power play. Yeah.
totally. So we were sucked into it. We took it on a recommendation from Shaun's parents, and I was like, I'm not gonna like this. By the end of like the second episode, like you always give it at least a few episodes. By the second episode, I was like, now I want to know what's happening. Now I want to know if the thing I'm predicting happens. Like, I have to keep watching. And you're like, that person's gonna die. And then you wait and you wait. And they might not be. And then you could find yourself surprised if and when something does happen. And whose baby is that? And anyway, intrigue, everything.
Wow. All right. Okay. I need
It's a less ridiculous Bridgerton. If we need to like find, if you liked Bridgerton, but you were like, I can't suspend disbelief through all of this, you'll also like Poldark.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like the color palette of Bridgerton is not the same.
Oh, this is a moodier
Yeah.
kind of like
Overcast.
if you like Devol Kitchens, you'll like the color scheme of this. You might even like live your English fantasy. So we're watching it on Amazon Prime. It's free to stream on Amazon Prime. And they're I think they're only going to have one more season after the current one that's showing. So
it's been
now's your chance.
It looks like there's like six seasons.
Oh, yeah. We've been like trickling them out just because I don't want to lose them all. So anyway.
So, okay, then I will, to sum it up, I'll light a couple candles and
get a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And have your like romance novel realness.
And elevate my foot.
Yep.
On Saturday with Cecily.
And I'll be propagating agave over here. Lovely. Should we hop to today's episode?
Let's.
Y'all, Sheryl Crow taught us a few things.
Sometimes mistakes are worth having.
Yeah, you're my favorite mistake.
I had this life coach like a long time ago who was really helpful to me at the time, and his whole like kind of mantra that he would say for me to say was, "Thank you for being my teacher, but I no longer need to be on this road with you.
Oh.
Goodbye."
Ooh.
So like acknowledge the teaching moment.
Yeah. But let's not keep living it.
Yeah, and like block their number and don't let them come anymore.
Ooh, okay, so well, I don't think we have any people written down here, but the idea is there that in for the both of us to be several years into our businesses, we've had some lessons. I don't know how you document stuff, but I have like a little lessons in my iPhone where I call it lessons. So like as things are happening, whether it's a mistake or it's something I need to like have my teaching moment from of I could have handled that differently or whatever, I just write a little quick couple sentences about the context of it. And then what do I need to do or change or learn from? And I usually go back like once a month and look through them. But I keep it as this running notepad in my phone.
Does it help you also like expunge the frustration, or I don't know?
Yeah, because if I like write it down, it's out. And then I also feel like there's something therapeutic about I wrote it down, I learned from it, and then usually I am changing something. Like I'm updating the way I plan an email template, or there's something in my investment guide that gets added, or a frequently asked question that I put on my website.
Yeah, you're definitely not a fool me twice kind of guy.
I don't like that. No, I don't like I don't like living that life, but it does happen. Like it's not perfect, but there is something good about being able to go, oh, I have something that addresses this. I'm erasing it from my list of lessons. And there's something cool about looking back at a few of them and going, oh, like that was that like I have to remember where I've come from. And like
Right.
I have made so much progress.
It's true.
And you have too.
Yeah, and I don't do that, which would probably be helpful for me to, see. I do my end of year stuff, so I can look back and kind of see what was bothering me or worrying me or what I want to change and have I changed it, but that little ongoing note is a good idea.
It's a fun thing to have. Like, oop, I'm leaving that meeting and that's going to be 3 sentences in the notepad. Like,
Yeah, I just put it into our podcast topic list. You could have a whole episode.
everything's an episode idea
It
now.
really
That's
is.
the
That's
other
all
nice part
content.
about this. You all can learn from the mistakes we've made or the lessons we've learned. And this might be a multi, who knows? Over the course, we might revisit things like this to talk about lessons we've learned as
Yeah,
time
and some of them are
continues.
episodes we've already talked about. Like we've talked a lot about contracts.
Yeah, that's like the first thing. Have a contract, have an enforceable contract that you know what to do if something goes wrong. Like, where do I need to bring my attorney back in if something's going wrong? What language do I use to enforce this? And if you're not going to enforce a contract, you probably shouldn't have one. Like, what's the point?
Well, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying, but I also think having a contract does set the tone of the arrangement with the client up
Yeah.
front, that you're not dicking around and you're
And they have to know
professional.
that it does have teeth. Like, if
Yeah, no,
there's
yeah.
a term in it that's not great, and they don't like it and they just go, well, we're not going to do this, then are you going to say, like, I always think when designers are asking questions and I'm like, are you going to enforce it though? Are you going to actually end the job if they do that? Because
Mhm.
then we're just playing chicken with each other. Like, you need to know when to pull that and say, that's great if you want to start doing all the purchasing yourself, except our contract stipulated that the purchasing is going through me and it's a minimum of this amount. And that's not the project I signed on for. So if you want to go that path, you'll go it without me and it's in our contract. And
Mhm.
here's how it'll work out. I don't want to put anything in my contract that I'm not actually going to use in my business process. Like if I'm not really going to hold a client to doing the purchasing through me, don't even write it. Like don't create a problem if I don't have to. And if it's in there, it needs to be there for a reason.
Yeah, and don't just have empty threats that look like you're not going to follow through with things.
Yeah, that's a big
Okay.
one. Contracts is the starter. Like, and that's because not everything is in my contract right now was there when I first started. And yeah, I pay the attorney regularly to go in and update stuff
Yeah, I
and
think
add
that's a
things.
good thing to almost all of these things, I would say nothing is set it and forget it. Like they all should be pretty living documents.
Yeah,
As you improve or shift or make service changes, everything needs to be updated with it, including your
totes.
website. Okay, collecting retainers. I'm trying to think. I think I've always done this. Like to collect a retainer up front of some sort, mostly for my design fee.
I did not when I first started. I haven't been burned, necessarily to the degree that it's like, oh my God, I lost so much money and but there is something to be said about having the client put some skin in the game
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that they can't just walk away and you're still holding like a big chunk of like 20, like used to be like 25% of their proposed design fee. And now I'm up to like 30%.
Yeah, I think it depends on the size of the project. Like I
Right.
think you've said, like small, like more like e-design or design plan only projects, like it might be a
Oh,
hundred
that's all
percent.
up front.
Yeah.
All up front. Because once I hand them the design, it's what would be their incentive to pay me?
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want it to also be, you don't want the client to feel like like they're rewarding you for a job well done. Like,
Yeah. If I like it, I'll pay you. Like,
yeah,
what?
no, that's not how it works.
Right.
And there's also that psychology of if people value things that they pay good money for, versus
Truth.
shit they're getting for free. So it's going to change their point of view from the beginning that like, okay, I'm paying the luxury service fee. I'm going to be expecting something great.
Right. And it adds more credibility to it. I've never had a client, once I decided to change it in the at the end of my first year, it really changed the process. Like no more tire kickers, no more people feeling like they were just paying like on an as needed basis for things as I decided to invoice them. It was like, oh no, we're in this. Like we're committed.
Where the communication doesn't drop off on their part where they get busy. Like, no, if they've got like money in your pocket, then they're going to be part of this.
Right. Like we've already paid for this. We need to keep with this. We need to get decisions made and keep going. And so I think that helps. And yes, the side benefit of should something go wrong, you can decide to pay your most recent outstanding invoice balance from the retainer and then terminate services. Like just don't do anything more until it's resolved. And so that's nice to know that that's on your side instead of on the customer's side.
Yes. Because there's been a couple incidences where the client has had to stop work. And okay, like I could probably enforce something from my contract, but it's like in one instance, she was getting divorced and I don't need to lay that on. It was only a few hours left. I'll just refund those hours to you, give you the documentation I've done to this point and, be nice about it. But it's not me trying to get money from her after I've done work and now, sorry, I know you're going through something terrible, but you owe me money.
Yeah, that's kind of, it feels shitty, right? So, but but also to the other end of that is if there's just a small thing going on and that the project is on hold, the retainer is there to say, okay, we're both going to agree. Something came up. You need 2 weeks. That's fine. We're going to keep working together, but I've got this retainer. So you're not going to run off on me.
Totally.
And there's that. Anyway, I think that's,
and just
you guys
along those lines, like I'm sure we've talked about this before, but I see it coming up in Facebook groups still. If you are ordering furniture, you need to take 100% of the price of the proposal.
Oh, yeah.
Not carry any costs for furniture. Like I see designers still that are like, they take 50%. And then 50% when it delivers? Like, no.
No, you guys, stop that. Like,
there's no returns. There's no, like, you're just stuck holding the bag and the bill. Like, no.
Not okay. No. Companies that people order from charge them right away. Some don't until it ships, but there are a lot of companies that it's like Amazon charges your card. Like, yeah, you bought it. It's charged. It's going to get sent to you.
Yep. There's just so many reasons for that. So it's also just like that needs to be an industry standard that all clients know when they work with an interior designer. If they're ordering furniture from a designer, it's 100% upfront. And that's a big check sometimes, but
but that's what it is. If
either they can afford it or they can't.
Yeah. That's a good lesson to get right up, like as early as you can. It really makes life so much better and you don't have any resentment. You're not dealing with back and forth on, oh my God, are they going to pay me? And I have to pay my rent this month or what? Like,
huge risk. It's not crazy to have a $30,000 furniture order is not very much. And that's a shit ton to have on your
balance sheet. Yeah, I would not. Yeah. And also like oh my God, it's been 4 days and my client hasn't paid their invoice. It's like, I'm not worried if I have the retainer. Like, I'm not going to chase. I don't really nag my client. Like everyone gets busy, but I don't ever expect my clients like, oh, the minute I send it is the minute they're going to pay it. Like, that's great. But also people have jobs and families and lives. I'm going to give them some grace. And if I've got my retainer, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
So get a retainer. This next one you're really good at is getting everything professional. That's client facing.
No, I think you're really good at it.
Oh, stop.
No, you are.
No, you're good at it. I think it's just about getting professional marketing and materials and handouts in front of your clients from the beginning to whatever level you can do those on your own.
Yeah, they don't need to be like crazy graphic design award-winning documents, and don't spend so much time that you're like no one cares. You know, there's a threshold of how good it should be designed, probably. Just we're not graphic designers, but well, some of you aren't. Just kidding. But, like, I have to watch myself. Like, okay, you're not being a graphic designer right now. Like, just make it professional, make it brand consistent, and move on.
Right. Like get it good enough, put it in a PDF. It's not a Word document. It's not like a notepad. Yeah, Google Doc or something. But like have it be something they can't edit or type on or change. Like if you don't know how to convert to PDF, like you got to use your Google more and get all that stuff done. That's important.
Use Canva if you really like don't know any graphics software, which
I mean, you can
fine.
even change the size of slides in PowerPoint to be like letter size and build it in there if that's what you know. Like do whatever you got to do to get it clean, professional, upfront. But when people ask questions, they want something that looks like you've put a lot of thought into it. It gives them more confidence.
Like luxury service, like you don't go to a beautiful department store and get like
it's like a lawn guy handout instead of a professional brochure about their credit card.
Yeah, or like the Nordstrom gift card comes in a beautiful box. Like,
yeah,
it's all got to be presented at the level of company you're trying to be.
Right. And it can still feel boutique. It can still feel personal. It can still be you, but it's like, yeah, it needs to be a little bit of an experience when you do it. And it's so much easier to your point about selling yourself to that level of client. Mm-hmm. If everything they've seen speaks to that, it helps with developing trust faster.
Totally.
Also, and not your like Hotmail account.
Yeah.
Or you're just like
we're not naming names.
ABC design at Gmail. Like you guys, it has to stop. That definitely to me feels fly by night. Like it feels hobby level.
Like, yeah, you don't want to write a check for tens of thousands of dollars to a Hotmail email address.
Yeah. Also,
we went over this in the brand.
If you believe that, then you might have won a foreign lottery in somewhere out of the country, and you just have to pay the taxes.
Maybe the prince.
Email scam.
Yeah, and we went over that a little bit more in Does Your Brand Suck? Is that the one? Well, link in the show notes.
Yeah, that's a good go back for you guys is get your stuff together because this is kind of part of it. And I think you guys can get there from there. But that's a good lesson to learn of like, once you get all that together, it really ups your credibility with clients.
And your confidence, I feel like. I mean, I know I kind of talk more about that emotional stuff, but like,
here it is.
Here's my beautiful package. And even if I don't feel like a legit designer right away, I look like one. And that's
right.
Fake it till you make it is something.
Definitely. Speaking of fake it till you make it, this is like the culmination of both of those things, and like the professionalism you put forward and contracts is whatever you all are doing, especially in the early stages of your career, you have to be sure that you have the right to take photographs in your contract. Because I did get burned from this from a client who I love them, but they really they didn't understand that part of doing a project for me is the ability for me to market projects. And one of my first big projects on my own was a full home remodel. And the client did not want to let me take pictures. It wasn't in the initial contract that I had done with them. And it took so much negotiating and like...
there was styling...
I had to do a lot of styling because it was not up to par, like, and that was a problem. And just the fact that it wasn't in the initial contract as like a non-negotiable, it really burns you when clients aren't going to value it. So it's something that as soon as that became an issue, any contract that went out after it was like, this is a given. Like, if I want to take pictures and use them for Instagram or use progress photos or do finished photos, it's my right to do that. And yeah, I've heard from a couple other designers that clients who don't want to photograph or who really are at a level where they have like non-disclosure agreements and they're not going to photograph it, they compensate with their design fee. Because at least they're going to get well paid for the job. And
right, because this job isn't
great.
going to help them get more jobs.
Right.
Unless, of course, referrals. But
yeah. And referrals are never guaranteed. Like usually the people who are like, well, I'll just refer people to you. If I didn't get the pictures, there's nothing in it yet.
Totally. Yeah. And I wanted to just add, like, last year, I ended up having a lot of small projects that I wouldn't have photographed, which bit me in the butt too. So I'm just now, even if not, I'm not going to, if it's like, I know I'm not going to photograph 100% of every single thing that I work on, just from a budget standpoint.
Right.
But I need to at least have one space that I know is photo worthy. I would say like a quarter. Like to at least have like 4 decent shoots come out a year. That feels reasonable. More would be great, but.
Yeah. And then I mean, I like what you're saying though, is like, if I'm going to do all this work, at least part of it has to be done, styled,
finished. Yeah.
Right. Whether it's I'm going to style part of the island on the kitchen or a breakfast bar area or I need to have something. And maybe it's not a full professional photo shoot, but hey, I'm going to get a really nice shot of that bathroom, get it out there, have it.
And the other part of that is to make sure it's the style that you want to sell more of. So I can't just take a full schedule full of clients that I don't necessarily want to attract more of that style. Like maybe it's simple or all white kitchen, which is beautiful. I'm glad the client wants that, but I don't necessarily want to attract more of that. So I have to have like aesthetic ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not worth photographing stuff that you don't want to do more of, which is really painful as when you're learning that lesson is there's stuff in my portfolio right now that I'm like, if I could go back, I probably wouldn't have spent as much on that shoot, or I would have only taken pictures of a few spaces. And I've gone back and taken out projects that I don't want more of anymore. And I've also narrowed down what's in the portfolio photos to get rid of some stuff that I'm like, nope, don't want to do that again.
I feel like that will happen over time, no matter what, though. Like you can't you don't want 200 projects on your website anyway. But yeah, like
be wise about the photos you do.
If you got a really great client that you really liked, and they had this Tuscan McMansion that had high level finishes, but you don't love it, maybe you take the work because the money's okay. But again, like
you don't need to do a $2,000 photo shoot
portfolio. Yeah. So make sure you have something else that's going to get in there.
Right. Even if it is just small parts of the room, that's the joy of. We talked about that in the professional photo shoots episode, which we can link that too. But we talk about how you can shoot around things that aren't great, that you don't want to highlight, to just get a few of the pieces that you want. And I think it's totally okay in your grid on Instagram, particularly, you don't always have to have the fully finished, like, pro photo. You can get some great stuff with your phone, do some edits, get it to look consistent with your marketing strategy. And that might be the extent of it.
Bring in styling. We're getting into the weeds here, but I just did a shoot.
Bring a little box during that install. And
I mean, I brought a lot of stuff at my last shoot because they didn't want a ton of stuff, but I needed more for photos to look well. So I styled it just for the shoot and took it back.
Yeah. It'd be good to have. It'd be good. I would say another lesson is get a good styling inventory of things that you can use that are like chameleon-like things. Like you're going to find we're going way off, but like trays are always good. Textural items, weird sculptural ceramic pieces. Like you're going to need some of those to fill in
Books.
gaps. And
Yeah.
you'll think, oh, this has been in 3 photos already. But most people are never going to notice. And if they're things that you like visually, you may even use those. Clients may go, I really loved that and want to repeat that aesthetic. So don't be afraid to have things that you feel are really representative of an aesthetic that you want to keep doing.
Def.
You guys know me and my boundaries. It wasn't always like this, but having office hours and like dedicated time when people can reach you is definitely a key to preventing resentment between you and your clients.
Mm-hmm.
The whole like, I don't talk on weekends and then all they do is talk on weekends. No.
Yeah. Boundaries are great. Still working on that one.
I know. It's always a moving target, but
yeah, I mean, and I'm just going to push back on that, and only because for office hours, you get to decide what they are. So Shaun knows exactly what he wants, when he wants to work and when he doesn't want to work based on his personal and family needs.
yeah.
Like I said earlier, I kind of see my 40 hours, if it is strung through 7 days, because I need flexibility and I want flexibility for my family. So I may not sit down to my desk until 10 because of all the stuff that I have to do in the morning with my daughter. And if she's home at 3 sometimes, then I'm done.
Then you're out of it for the day. But your clients should know when can I talk to you? When are you available? Whatever those are.
Yes. Like I'm not accepting client calls at 8:00 at night, and usually I'm not really open for communication on the weekends. Like I'll work on the weekend, but I don't let like clients to know that all the time. So I'll like
delay your emails.
Batch email. Yeah. But as far as like my personal office hours in my home, like it is a little bit more flexible. But like time blocking was a big thing that took me a really long time to kind of agree to with myself.
That's your rebel. You don't want to.
It is.
You don't even want to follow your own rules.
I totally don't. And how do I know what I'm going to want to do on a Monday or not?
I mean, it's still a job. So sometimes we do stuff that you're like, I don't really feel like this, but I got to get this done right now. So we're just going to roll. Like,
yeah. And I think, like, let's be real. No one ever wants to have a meeting on a Monday morning, ever.
No.
Like, I'm never going to feel like that. So Mondays.
Or a Friday at 4.
Yeah. So Mondays and Fridays, I don't have open for stuff on like for booking consultations. So like the time blocking works really well with Acuity. We've talked about that in a few previous episodes because Acuity does the time. Like I decided when those hours are open for client calls or meetings a long time ago, and my calendar just does it.
Yeah. For me, this was a lesson that I learned because I was so grateful to have my first clients that I was like, I'm available if you need me. I'm living and breathing this project and whenever. And it'd be like 9:00. Can you talk? And I'd be like, yeah, on text messaging. Ew, girl. I quickly realized
Shakira, whenever, wherever.
I honestly resented so much. And I'm like, wait, how can I be? It took me a minute to go, wait, I can't resent them or be upset with them when I set this expectation that if you call, I literally pick up whenever. And I would step away from like a meal with my husband to pick up a phone call. And I'm like, hold on, like nobody and nothing is that important that because you were scrolling Pinterest at 9:00 at night, that you have to call me or text me. So I didn't start there. That's why this is one of my favorite mistakes is now I know the what not to do. And I see a lot of other like newer designers or designers who are navigating business on their own after working with another designer, you got to play a little hard to get. Otherwise, it's too easy for clients to take advantage of and to not appreciate what you do for them. And the more you treat it like a business and a
Yeah,
separation from your person, the more they're going to have to do that too.
totally. No, that's what I was going to say too. Like setting yourself up as a business and thinking of yourself as a business, all, yeah, I think it
Yeah.
all helps. I think, yeah, just doing the two, those last.
Like not stop. Okay. So the next thing is sort of fighting that scarcity mentality that a lot of designers have of like the feast or famine idea, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that we constantly have to be selling what we do to the potential client we want to work with.
Yeah, this is still really hard for me because I get like creative brain that if when you're busy on a project is when you need to be setting up your next project if you don't have one because
Right.
that's you're going to step into a hole and once you're in the hole you can't dig
You
out of
can't get
it
out. Yeah.
or you're in a, like you're not getting paid. So
Because you're like, I'm busy, it's great. And then you're like, holy crap, we're wrapping up in 3 weeks and I don't have anyone signed on.
yeah, so you always have to be filling the funnel, and part of that is, you know, going out there and looking for work, talking to people a lot, but also just asking for work. Like this is where Instagram is really important and for
Mm.
me in my business. And I'm not saying I'm doing awesome at it right now because I'm not, but you have to remember to remind people how to hire you, what it is you are actually selling, what you want them to
Yeah.
do, even if it feels salesy. And I don't
But
know.
we're salespeople.
We
Like
are.
I hate to say it to anyone who didn't already realize it, but our job is to sell a beautiful lifestyle, furnishings, like our services. It's a product. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's but you're right. Like every time you put a call to action out and then you're like, oh yeah, look, like a new inquiry came in or someone wanted to schedule a phone call. Like it's rewarding to see that feed on itself, but people use every project you're currently working on to show people why they should bring you onto their project.
Yeah. Yeah, like those kind of scenes of a remodel or the like befores, and that gets just people feeling aspirational and excited, and maybe they can't hire you for a couple years, but that like you're planting a seed today for 2 years away, which you're going to need them then. So
Yeah. You need to be ahead. Like I don't know.
that drumbeat just
You
has to be continuous.
right. So whatever it is, you need to find your strategy to get into that because it is too easy to fall into the oh, I had one project and then I spent a month trying to drum up the next one and I had nothing going on. And then I brought on another one. That should not be, it should not be peaks and valleys like that for us. I mean, not, especially not in our market now, but there were times where it was like, I'm too busy to do that. I can't.
Yep. I'm reading this book right now that I think we've talked about, but we can link it, called Run Studio Run.
Hmm.
It's it's written by more of like a creative graphic design studio, but it works for all creative businesses, I think, especially like smaller ones. And he talks a lot about this funnel mentality and selling and how hard it is specifically for creative minded people to do that. It's a really good book. It's really beautifully designed. So we can,
So you'll love that.
and it's funny. He's funny.
Yeah. I think that's like something you learn after a while is, okay, I can't live this ebb and flow life. I have to know that it's coming in. And part of this like selling yourself idea is also the selling your projects fully
Mm-hmm.
to clients. And this is something that I found through my own trial and error again, which was if I started selling a partially like in my eagerness to share ideas with clients and get them excited, sometimes if you don't share a fully realized or close to fully realized plan, it leaves a lot of room for negotiation and uncertainty and indecision and waffling is what I found. And I found the greatest success in my presentations is when everything, the mood boards, the renderings, even if it's not the exact faucet, a faucet that's in that vein, I've got to put it in there. Don't leave it empty, because then the client's mind starts to wander, and you want to sell the full fantasy when you present to them. It's almost like trying to sell a house when it's halfway through a remodel, and not everyone has the vision to imagine what you're doing.
What the flooring's going to look like.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying something new where I'm doing that, but in stages. So I'm presenting a concept phase that isn't fully realized, but it's fully fantasized. If that makes sense. So
Yeah. Like the look, the feel, the energy.
Yeah, so I'm selling the story of it and the feeling and direction and inspiration photos, and also like floor plans to make sure, like, okay, let's talk about where you watch TV or how much you do or whatever, to make sure, like, before I go and select and place furniture in this way, that you're okay with it and you love this direction. Then I go back and source. But yeah, it is all about like getting that like aspiration and the feeling and getting them excited about what they're going to do in the room. And I don't know.
It's helpful to use that as when we get to the messy parts and we get to the technical stuff, and it's like your house is demoed or whatever, or the room is kind of like all empty because you're about to put stuff in. There's that waiting game, and it's good to pull them back. Like, remember, this is the shiny fantasy that we're going to. Like, don't lose sight of this at the end of the tunnel. It's the more fully realized that is, the easier it is to keep the client locked on and not start to get skeptical or doubtful.
I know, that just made me like have this like idea. There's like a little light bulb. I don't know if anybody does this or how it would exactly work, but it's almost like during this mood board concept presentation, it's like I want to have like a theme song for it, like add a sound layer that contributes to that overall fantasy, like
they could light a candle and go, oh my God, our bedroom is going to be like,
yeah, like, is it jazz? Is it like, I don't know.
Ooh, okay. That would be great for like your in-person consultation.
Right.
Or like
when it's just concept, like, here's inspiration photos. I'm going to pull like Nancy Meyer's soundtrack, like have it just be like, let them imagine.
I have heard stuff like that from designers who, like, if they're in person and it's a presentation, they have stuff up on the walls, they have a candle, they have music that's playing quietly that's kind of got that.
Yeah. Like, not like, let's sit and listen to this whole soundtrack. But yeah.
But it's like before we start, like, it's like going into a really great boutique. Because everything in there, from the music to the smells to the lighting to the whole experience, plus the visuals, is in line.
I know, that would be great, like, to have a studio space with a conference room that you can kind of set this tone. Yeah, no,
it's like a pop-up shop, but for your design presentation. But the more you can create that, the more like, clients,
popcorn popping for the TV room,
the family room presentation.
Yeah.
The more you can like build that fantasy, the easier it is for clients to remember it and to latch onto it later. Because this is the fun, sexy part. It's done really fast.
During the dusty phase, yeah.
So anyway, these are lessons that have helped just like pull it together. Like, keep things on track. There's a reason for it. If you are wondering and you're listening, like, well, why? What's the worst that can happen? Girl, I'm the first person to tell y'all about what went wrong. So you can ask us.
Yeah, totally. Like, I was just thinking, like, that last one, if in the past I've had presentations that are in my head, but I'm not like imparting it into the client's head, and then
they're like not there.
Get it. No. So mistakes will continue to happen, and they will.
I know that's right.
Hopefully they're just not the same favorite mistakes.
You're my favorite mistake.
Oh, Cheryl.
Do you think that Lance Armstrong was her favorite mistake?
Hmm.
Oh man. Anyway, that was pop culture with the HYDCs. Well, I hope that y'all avoid some of our favorite mistakes. And to all of our have we said this? All of our designer listeners that we're now calling you the hotties.
Mm-hmm. If you're part of the club, you get to be a hottie.
You get to be a hottie. So until next time.
Stay hot, designers. Thanks for joining this meeting of the Hot Young Designers Club podcast.
If you liked what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Check out the show notes there for links to things we talked about today.
We are keeping the conversation going on Instagram, so don't forget to like, comment, and follow at Hot Young Designers Club.
You can find Rebecca on Instagram at Studio Plum.
And you can find Shaun at Renstead Interiors. That's WRENSTED.
This person is trash instead of their name.
Yeah, I changed their contact to
Yeah.
do not answer no matter how late it is or how drunk you are.
Right. Like, this person is trash. Hello?
You had a little.
This is Malvin.
You had a little fry. Okay, let's just do
Okay.
it. Oh.
Ah.